Drake Hollow. We're doing a tips and tricks in order to help you kind of get started in the game and understand a number of the mechanics. So this is kind of our just default save spot that I have set up. It's right before you kind of leave to the second region because the game takes place over a number of seasons, and it's just got a bit of a camp set up. So the first thing to kind of think about are the base mechanics in the game. So you kind of learn these in the tutorial, but we're just going to go over some shortcuts and everything like that. So we obviously have running, we have jumping. So a big part of attacking enemies is how you kind of move towards them. Whenever you can, try to run, jump, and hold down because it gives you a bit of a slam attack. And I've noticed it seems to do a bit more damage and or at least give a little bit of a pushback against people. When you are fighting, make sure you're taking advantage of the B button for evade. Now it does have a bit of a delay at it, so make sure that you're out of the way of the unit attacking you so that you can then, once you're evaded, make your strike and hit them. And again, try to evade and move around and keep yourself moving and hopping along when you are fighting enemies, because I think that is, quite an important aspect of that game. And if you can actually jump off of points and do the slam, that's also a good idea. Jumping off a cliff at something and, getting the slam down, you can do it from quite a height. I think that's important. And don't forget, you can also hold LT or platform equivalent, and you can pull out a secondary kind of aiming thing. So, basically like a nail gun, something that gives you a bit of a range. This is perfect for the dog or wolf-like creatures that you're battling because you can shoot at them safely from a distance because they move away quite fast. You can also click down on the D-pad to switch between your different options for range. So I think that's kind of important in case you have multiple tools. You can also just quickly click up on the D-pad to switch between your weapons. You can hold up on the D-pad in order to bring up your weapon wheel. And you can see the damage and the stats that you have here. And you can also press RB and LB to switch between your different options. I mean, the same thing kind of goes for holding down on the D-pad. You get an option here. It's easy to drop and equip items right away, weapon-wise. So just keep that in mind. And again, you do have a limit in regards to how many weapons you can hold at a time. Though if you want, you can actually store your weapons and extra things here in the depot in case you want to have them later for use. Keep in mind that your camp is really important, and it's something that keeps with you as you progress through the season. So it's important to build it up and have it at a point where it is working quite well. So if you are wanting to play with others, you click the back button, and you can convert your session to a multiplayer game, or you can also enjoy or be joined or invited by others too if you'd like to go that way. Just so that you are aware of that, since I did see someone ask a question about, playing with others in this game, so I thought that was kind of important to mention. So the game also has a block feature, so use that in LB. I don't do a ton of blocking, but I know for those strikes where they're coming at you, the block can be very effective, and you can actually kind of evade out of your block too if you'd like. So while you are moving around in the world, at any point you can actually press the Y button and kind of bring up your building. So to me, a very important part of moving through the areas, and this is one aspect that, is kind of like, I wish this was done a little bit better, is the waypoint system. Because it's something, that is fairly easy to make and super helpful to get around. But by the time you've really set up a good network, you're kind of moving on to the next area. There's also the healing salve, which I really do think is an important thing to have with you. Always have a backup one just so you can heal. If you die, it's not a big deal. You just walk to your body or you respawn back at camp with a slight penalty. You always need either wards because they kind of remove the cloudy area as you're moving between islands. And then there's a lot of other stuff you kind of work through, but I think those are more advanced things that we don't necessarily need to cover because they're not necessarily the essentials. But yeah, with the waypoints, you're able to easily create this sort of system that you can just go right over the islands. It's a little bit hard to set up, but once you get the flow of it going, you can really create a very useful network in order to get across areas. As you can see here, this really has been sort of revolutionary in regards to getting to new places. And if you get, to a special or particular island, like I have actually set up at the far end over there, you can collect a supply train to these trucks that you find. So I think that's kind of neat. And again, the waypoints are something that I think are worth setting up, especially as you get towards the end game, just because it takes away the sort of time that you need to spend, traveling through the stormy dust on the ground. And it also allows you not to have to deal with all of the various kind of creatures that are coming after you. And, the creatures are sort of dying, the drakes, right now in my game, but don't worry, this is just a save point. I'll actually do this properly and they'll be all fine. It's all good. But yeah, so if you are kind of injured, you see up there, a big part of the game and leveling up your camp is actually dealing with these little creatures. You need to talk to them, you need to heal them, you know, you use your waving hand here and heal them up and keep them happy, and you need to use crystals. So crystals are how you upgrade your camp. You get these, the drakes here, you level them up and that increases your camp level, and therefore unlocks new items that you're able to build. And then from there, you actually need to unlock the items using the schematics, and that will allow you to be able to build things. So if you're ever short on a few materials, you can actually buy them from the crow over there at that spot. And if your drakes do end up dying, because, you know, dying is kind of sad, they'll respawn in the ground and you can go find them again. Or if there's some other issue, you know, you just have to go find them. Sometimes they'll, like, be in this area, like right in our camp, and sometimes if they do die, they'll actually be found out in the map again, just like you found them initially. So it's not a huge penalty if that happens. So some of the drakes also have a gift icon above their head, and you just talk to them, they'll give you a gift, which is kind of fun. I do suggest getting a food plot for them and making sure that you are filling it so that they are able to keep on eating. The water area is also important, and if you do have the stats, be sure to fill the cauldron. And I mean, this is at the end of a battle I just had with a really intense creature. That's why there's no, like, you know, cauldron stuff, and why my fencing area is quite damaged. So that's another thing I really wanted to mention, was the fencing. So the fencing is really helpful, because the raids were really annoying to me, because I was constantly having to deal with these creatures kind of breaking all of the stuff, and you get a very small return on investment in regards to things getting broken. So while it's not set up here right away, the idea is actually to make multiple tiers of this fence around your main camp, and you want to put your most important items close as you can towards the middle so that they're less likely to get damaged. So the fence is great not only because, you know, it blocks the enemies, but it also keeps them at bay so that you can sit behind the fence and you can actually hit them through it and they won't hit you. So that's a massive bonus. I mean, they can break the fence, as you see the fence is damaged here, but they can't actually damage you through the fence or really hit you that hard through it. And you can just sit here and kind of wail on them. And that's why I think having multiple tiers of fences is really helpful, because you can keep going backwards and backwards and making your hits from the distance. You could also use your ranged weapon, and it's just a really good strategy to deploy if you are trying to defend your camp. I think that'll be helpful. Obviously, getting the higher tier fencing is really good too, but that's just something to keep in mind. So in the game, you're also going to have these particular items that need power. So like the pinball machine, or say, I think one of the crafting, yeah, I had the advanced Kuro network. So we're just going to kind of show that right here. We had it here and it got destroyed due to a big attack. But we're going to put it down and we're going to kind of show off the power. So in the game, see, we've got our treadmill, and we can hold X to actually do it ourselves. But our little friends, the drakes, they do a lot of the camp management, which is, you know, very, very helpful. So in order to get the power going, you click in the right stick to get to this inspection area that lets you see all of, again, the icons, the health of everything. And then you go over to the object you want to inspect, you hold X, and it gives you a number of options. You can dismantle it this way, you can connect the power, you can craft, you can get info. So we're going to select the power, gives us a bit of a cord, hold X to connect. Oh, sorry, we got to kind of go around there. There we go. So now you can see that we've actually got the connection point going. This is now powered. We can back out, and we can now craft items using this, and it unlocks new options for us to start crafting with. So I hope that helped on there, because the power thing was always just sort of really surprising to me in regards to, you know, how to actually use it, how to get that going, and I was really puzzled about that one, because I was like, why is this giving me so much trouble? I don't understand it. But yeah, there you go. Make sure the power bar is up. You can jump on it yourself, or you can have your other guys do it. Remember that different things need different sets of power. And yeah, make sure you have enough beds for all of your guys too, whether they're like good beds or bad beds. And I think at this point we should maybe show off a little bit of the scavenging aspect of gameplay, because I feel like we did cover, you know, the buildings. You got to make sure that all your bars are really high up. And again, this is just like a save point I've been using. You got to keep your food, your water, and your happiness up. You got to balance that. Even making the smaller stuff just to get a little bit more up there is important to kind of make that happen. And if you are lacking the materials, just go talk to the crow. And if you didn't know, you can just like break things in order to collect materials. But you do want to be checking out the housing in order to find boxes and stuff in order to get the good stuff. If you want crystals, you really do need to purify the areas of the map, the different islands. They've got these red thorns on them. Breaking them down will basically grant you access to these crystals through like a special box, or you can also take out the various enemies. You might get a drop too. But that's the gist of it, is going to these new islands, discovering these, you know, new issues and trying to work your way around it, going to these buildings and scavenging materials in these different islands. And eventually you might get a good setup like I have here in regards to just like the smoothness to kind of get places. Just keep in mind, most things you can't actually like destroy. You can't break any of the housing here, but you can knock down, you know, the different trees in order to collect wood and lumber. So it's got like this semi-sense of destructible environment to it. Usually cars have good minerals and materials which are extremely helpful in regards to, you know, using those mechanics. I think it would be a good idea to kind of show off, you know, some of the aspects of actually going through the dust there. And we're just kind of taking out these guys. Sorry, they're kind of awkward. You can most of the time swing. Oh, I thought they'd have a crystal for me or something. But yeah, you just kind of move through the dust, or, well, the mist. It's not dust, but you get the sense of what I'm saying. You kind of use the either ward in order to do that. You should get more than enough time to move through it, even with the additional 5 extra seconds in case the distance between islands is a little bit longer than you might be useful or used to. There is also the option of opening the map, which I think is extremely helpful for navigation. You're seeing the map here, and you can, you know, kind of plot where you want to go, create markers on the map, and I think that's helpful. It's also good for monitoring, you know, the health of everyone, the upgrades of everyone, seeing the crystals you have, seeing your camp status. You can also place markers on where your stuff is in your camp and see the tech tree and all of the different options you can unlock as you continue to progress in the game. It's also worth noting that as you clean up areas, sometimes the gift box will give you new, like, decorative cosmetic things for your character too, so that's kind of neat. And your inventory is sorted really nicely. You can have like 250 items, and again, if you are running out of item space, you can go back to your camp's depot and throw stuff in there as an extra sort of resource for holding things down. And I think that's helpful. But generally, you know, that's Drake Hollow. It's about going to these islands, breaking lots of stuff down, which I've kind of done a lot of. You know, most of the stuff is already scavenged. Hitting the cars, hitting the mailboxes, and collecting the resources that you're finding around, and making sure that your camp back home is doing well. You can leave for a very extended period of time. The game does, you know, let you know when there are problems, when a raid is going to happen in your area, when any of your particular critters are having troubles. You get all of those icons, you get the simple notes. It doesn't really tell you where you're going or what you're doing, so some of the aspects of like getting these, you know, drakes leveled up can feel a bit grindish, but, you know, keep them happy. They're adorable little things. They're a lot of fun. I think this is a very interesting game, and obviously if you got groups of people, you can get a lot more work done as a team. And I hope this helped and kind of went over some details that you might find a little bit harder in this game, some things I had to figure out, and I hope, you know, the mechanics and everything that I went over were helpful. If you do ever need additional tips, the things that you've been doing in the game, the log does have some like notes and stuff like that to help you as well. And that is Drake Hollow.